at least Jaishankar told us where the US is. The US is in the United States. He still is seasoned enough to tackle a simple question that comprised just 7 words.
Commitment to the ceasefire. So when Jaishankar refers to those calls with Marco Rubio and J.D. Vance's talk with Modi, they gave a commitment.
You go to the international community, you go to different world capitals, you invite international intervention, and then you say it's a bilateral issue.
So that's exactly what they're not doing. I think they're traveling in an opposite direction.
Hello. It's not every day that you see 7 words toppling a seasoned politician / bureaucrat. Subramaniam Jai Shankar, the longest serving Minister for External Affairs since Jawaharlal Nehru, had his bad moment. Not because he was ill prepared, but because he thought he could beat fact. The anchor asked him a question based on just 7 words. And look what a mess he made.
And where was the US in this process?
Well, the US was in the United States. I mean, obviously there were US Secretary of State Rubio and Vice President Vance had called up. Rubio had spoken to me. Vance had spoken to our Prime Minister. They had their view, and they were talking to us, and they were talking to Pakistani side, as indeed were some other countries.
You would not hear this kind of jumbled up trash coming out of a seasoned bureaucrat's mouth. And I call it trash not because it's a bad language or anything, but trash in terms of the factual basis of it. Subramaniam Jai Shankar knows how to talk. In fact, he comes across as a guy who has figured out the universe. Though he walks around rather pompously with a stiff neck and his typical frameless glasses, and he thrives on this image of a guy who talks down on reporters, and he knows pretty much everything, and he pretends as if he has discovered a new continent on the face of this earth. But despite all that haughtiness, he still is seasoned enough to tackle a simple question that comprised just 7 words. And where was the US in all of this? I can understand he was just trying to deflect by turning it into a joke, and it's a bad joke when the joke is really upon you. You can't pull it off. And he couldn't pull off the joke not because he doesn't know how to pull off a joke. He couldn't pull off the joke because he could not pull out the fact to substantiate whatever he's saying. His narrative is, and India's narrative is, that the US had got nothing to do with this precarious peace that prevails in the subcontinent. And they are pretending as if it was their good graces and their wisdom that eventually led to the peace between India and Pakistan on the borders. And it was Pakistan that came begging to them, quote, end quote, that sought the ceasefire. This narrative obviously has big potholes in it, and that's where Jaishankar's problem was, is, shall remain. You cannot be in denial as to what the US role was. You cannot be factually so incorrect, and you cannot be glib and move around fact, beat about the bush. When the journalist asks you a simple question, you're supposed to get your facts right. They don't have facts on their side, and therefore Jaishankar made a complete mess of it.
Very right. Even if you were to stretch it to the length of or extent of absurdity, you can't make it right because it's not right. I would refer to Tammy Bruce's statement, the State Department's spokesperson. She said that there was a commitment to the ceasefire. And now the Indians say that it was between Pakistan and India because they talked with Pakistan, or Pakistan came out with the request for a ceasefire. India agreed, we both talked, and then a ceasefire was arranged. Tammy Bruce is saying that there was a commitment to the ceasefire. So when Jaishankar refers to those calls with Marco Rubio and J.D. Vance's talk with Modi, they gave a commitment. So the mighty Indian government, the Modi government, the mighty BJP government had committed to the US in their talks on the telephone that night that they agreed to the ceasefire. That's why both the parties sat on the table and talked about the ceasefire. India's hubris before the war, it was so great and high. They did not want to relent. They wanted to teach Pakistan a lesson. So immediately after Pakistan retaliated, they came to the table. Tamis Bruce's second part of the statement, in the same breath, she says, this is an opportunity for India and Pakistan to resolve issues. So instead of painting a great picture of what has happened, and that too in world capitals, India should really be talking about peace, should really be talking about cementing that ceasefire instead of spending these huge sums, people's money, on these visits.
Look, I am not a fan of American role in any dispute. I don't think that they are fair and just brokers. I think they have a tilted scale, and they would tilt it to their advantage anytime. So I would not want any ceasefire to be underpinned by any American guarantee. But here we're not talking about the morality of it or the practicality of it. Here we're talking about the fact of it. So number one, fact is that America did intervene. Fact is that India did accede to American pressure. Fact is that they did commit to the fact that it will not just be a ceasefire, that all issues related to it will also be taken up. And that's something that the Trump administration officials keep on repeating time and again, and that is something that Jaishankar seems to be in denial of. I also understand why Jaishankar is in such a tight spot that he would forget to even articulate a basic answer, because their commitment to their public that they hyped around the idea that Pakistan will be defeated is that we are going to not relent. We are going to continue with Sindhoor operation, and we are going to teach Pakistan a lesson. While in reality, in private diplomacy involving big capitals, they are committing to something else. So it's this clash between the public posture and the private posture. It's classic that is coming to haunt them. Look, if one were to take at face value what the Indians are saying, assume that Jaishankar is right, assume for the sake of argument, if Modi is right, that it was between the two countries that the ceasefire was planned. If that is the case, why are you running around in different capitals of the world and trying to promote your case? If your case is bilateral, then you need to plead this case bilaterally. You go to the international community, you go to different world capitals, you invite international intervention, and then you say it's a bilateral issue. If you're so sane, if you have sagacity on your side, and that sagacity was used to essentially, call it off for a while, then expand it bilaterally. That you will not do, because you understand the cost of it. The cost is the public constituency that you are pandering to. That public constituency is used to the idea that Pakistan is going to be bashed and we will not let Pakistan get away with whatever. And that is something that is holding you hostage. That is called a public commitment trap.
It comes back to you, isn't it? They go around talking to people. I think they're on an election campaign. Modi, who has not had a press conference in years, came out after the conflict and made this famous statement, which is doing rounds on social media, that Pakistan, instead of sitting back, attacked India. So I see frustration in that statement. I see surprise in that statement. I see a lot of shock in that statement, because the Indians weren't expecting Pakistan to retaliate the way they had done. Now that it's gone to Rajasthan, holding public rallies and telling people that, we'd hit Pakistan really hard and that we're a great nation and that we can continue to do that, and Operation Sindhoor is continuing. Again, the message should be that now we need to resolve matters. Now we need to take both countries forward. Now we need to talk about water issues. Now we need to resolve the issues which had been pending and had been a thorn in our flesh for so long. So that's exactly what they're not doing. I think they're traveling in an opposite direction, and the need is, I guess, is electoral in nature.
Well, we want to close this by saying that at least Jaishankar told us where the US is. The US is in the United States. Well, where does that leave India's stance? I can tell you where it is. It is up in the air. Goodbye.